Hey, come here. Hey, man, you almost missed. I got your seat right next to me. Hey, be careful with that popcorn. Stop stepping on people's shoes. And sit down right here. Fam, thank God you made it. You at the movies with Pete McCorvey. Oh, shh. Start. Hey, what's good, everybody? This your country cousin, Pete McCorvey, a.k.a. Petey Mac, and welcome back to the movies with me. Hey, man, this one right here, this one is one of them ones. Because this movie is probably going to be one of not just the best movies of the year, but probably one of the best musical biopics that we've ever seen. The casting was wonderful. The portrayals that the actors and actresses did were phenomenal. And the music was just timeless. And if you don't understand what I'm talking about the biopic Michael, which was based on the late, great legend, king of pop himself, Michael Jackson. Now let's just get into the particulars about this movie, Michael. Michael was released Friday, April 24th, 2026, basically a few weeks back. It was distributed locally in the U.S., domestically, by Lionsgate, but internationally by Universal Pictures, which is funny because when everybody was on TikTok saying how the movie should start, and they said the Michael biopic better start like this, and it had, if you want to be starting something, playing, and they did that. They had want to be starting something playing over the Universal globe. You know, and it had the normal dun 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 dun. You know the thing it had. The movie stars Jafar Jackson in the tutorial role as his uncle Michael. Stars Coleman Domingo as Joseph Jackson, Michael Jackson's father. It stars Nia Long as his mother, Katherine Jackson. Also featured in it was Lorenz Tate as Barry Gordy, Laura Harrier as Susan DePaz, Miles Teller as John Branca, Kelvin Sampson as Quincy Jones. And this one shocked me because I didn't even realize who this guy was until I went back and saw it when I looked it up. Mike Myers as Walter Yetnikoff, the president of CBS Records at the time Michael Jackson was signed to them. Now, I really don't have a big synopsis for it. It's just straight up. It's chronicling the life of Michael Jackson from the time where he and his brothers were struggling as the Jackson 5 in Gary, Indiana in 1996, all the way up until he became the king of pop during his Bad tour in 1988. We follow his musical journey to find his voice, get his independence, and how great of a man he just was to humanity. Now, I'm going to say this. The movie, which was directed by Antoine Fuqua. We know him from Training Day, Brooklyn's Finest, and a lot of other wonderful movies. That man, visually, cinematically, it was a masterpiece. It was a masterpiece. Cinematography was great. And shout out to the audio people. The ADR was phenomenal. I really thought how good it was. They really put you into the field like you were in the crowd at a legit Michael Jackson concert. So they definitely did great with the audio. The acting, superb acting across the board. From Jafar Jackson to Coleman Domingo to Lorenz Tate as Barry Gordy, to Mike Myers as Walter Yetnikoff. Like I said, the principals and the supporting characters all were phenomenal. The makeup artists did their thing, and it really made me feel like I was really there watching Michael Jackson go from this little boy who's singing pop songs, bubblegum pop songs, to the grown man he became at age 30 in 1988, where he became a world phenomenon. However, while I do love the acting, the cinematography, the music, the movie didn't give me a lot of depth. I'm going to keep it funky. Keep it funky. Shot wonderfully. Audio was amazing. Like I keep saying. Accurate portrayals of real people from the actors, but there was really no depth to it. It really was no depth. It was pretty much a 2-hour-long concert, which was a great walk down memory lane for us as Michael Jackson fans, because that's what this was. This was a movie for Michael Jackson fans to reminisce. But we really didn't learn any more about Michael Jackson that we really didn't know. So for that reason, I'm going to give it, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. But like I said, because of the phenomenal acting, mainly by Jafar Jackson and Coleman Domingo, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. That's just me not being biased. Now, we're going to go over to my personal feel on it. I'm going to say this personally. I thought the movie was fucking amazing. I've seen it 4 times in theaters. Yeah, that what I just told you, that's from critic standpoint. This is from a fan standpoint. I love that damn movie. Jafar Jackson did his thing. He brought his uncle back to us for 2 hours, and I loved every second of it. Like I told y'all, I've seen it 4 times. The movie, now at first I thought we were going to get it all the way up into at least the 90s, because originally, if you looked up the casting for it, Derek Luke, who we all know is Antoine Fisher, he is listed as Johnny Cochran. So I said, okay, we're going to get to the allegations. But however, that wasn't in there. Cat Graham, who was supposed to play Diana Ross, she wasn't in there. They said there was some legal issues that happened. She decided she didn't want to do it. But regardless of that, we got Michael Joseph Jackson, born August 29th, 1958 in Gary, Indiana. We got him back for 2 hours. Jafar Jackson, brother, thank you. Your uncle possessed your soul in this movie, and I'm glad he did. I was singing every song word for word. And like I said, it was some times in this movie I really thought I was looking at Michael Jackson. And I'm going to give you a few of them straight up. The scene where Michael Jackson first meets John Branca, played by Miles Teller, who is now currently over his estate. When he took those aviators off, we saw that side profile. I was in the theater like, oh shit, that's Mike. Another time he looked like him was when he was laying in bed and he was coming up with the idea for Beat It after he just saw the news report of Bloods and Crips killing each other. He looked like him there. When he was in the hospital bed and he was looking in the mirror and they showed his reflection in the mirror, he looked like him there. And at the end, but we was doing his 1988 Wembley Arena performance, about to get on stage and do Bad, when he turned back and looked at his head of security, Bill Bray, he looked just like him there too. Like I said, that man, he embodied his uncle so much. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of people right now are saying a couple of those scenes is basically the closest we'll get to a Michael Jackson concert, and they are not lying. The one scene that I love the most is when it was the final night of the Victory Tour in 1984, when they showed Michael singing Human Nature. Man, first of all, Human Nature is one of my favorite Michael Jackson songs. But the way Jafar captured that essence, oh man, it was amazing. I was like, I would have given anything to be there in 1984 to see this. And when he turned the mic to the crowd and they were singing Human Nature, it was like a religious experience. Matter of fact, they show a shot of one girl. She got her hand up, eyes closed. She's swaying back and forth, looking like she's at one of those Christian rock concerts. I felt that in my soul. And when they were shining the spotlight on Mike from different angles, first of all, I've always said that whoever was the spotlight worker for Michael Jackson, that man had to be the best skilled person for that shit. Cause we all know Mike can move like a motherfucker. And you got to be able to anticipate where he going with that spotlight. So that was amazing. And then we talking about the performances at the end, him performing Bad, because that's another one. As a matter of fact, Bad is probably my favorite Michael Jackson song. When Michael was walking out, because it first went from him telling Joe that he was done with him, and he walking away from the Victory Tour, and they show him walking up to perform at Wembley Arena in 1988, and you hear that cue up to Bad. I'm in the theater when I heard it, because they were doing it bit by bit. They was doom, then doom, doom, then doom, 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 then doom, 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 doom. I was in the theater when I heard that first note. I perked up in my seat. I said, here we go. Here we go. Because the Bad era is my favorite Michael Jackson era. I was born at the tail end of the Bad era. And I got to know Michael Jackson during the Dangerous era. But Bad is my favorite era because my Aunt Betty, I think my cousin Christine, used to always play Moonwalker whenever I went over their house. I remember the Moonwalker video game, both the arcade and the Sega Genesis game, because my mom's boyfriend, when I was in 5th grade, he downloaded that to the computer for me, the Sega Genesis version, and I used to always see and play the arcade version like at Walmart. You got to be old to remember when Walmart in the lobby used to have video game cabinets. Y'all remember that? You got to be an 80s baby to remember that. And that one used to amaze me because it's like you can dance and get the people to dance with you and they die. So I always thought that was pretty cool. Like I said, there was something about the Bad. And then on top of that, my mama's boyfriend at the time, he had a copy of Bad on CD. And he let me have that. So, you know, I ain't really fuck with dude like that. But he was cool about that. And he also put me on game about a lot of other pop culture shit. But him in the Bad, I was in the theater when I doom, 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 doom. I sung that shit word for word because I ended up, like I don't know if I mentioned it or not, I ended up seeing the movie 2 days early. Because one of my coworkers, somehow she got the hookup to get 3 passes. So me and another one of the coworkers she fucked with, we went. So 2 days before everybody seen it, I saw it. And when I was over there doing it, she looked over and she told me, she said, you mouthed every word and did every movement when he played Bad. I said, you damn right. And then I know I said it loud as hell in the theater when he said, and the whole world's got the answer right now. Just tell you once again. I said, who's bad? I know I did it louder than, because I wasn't the only one. I saw a couple other people, but I know I did it louder than anybody else. So definitely the music was on point. Now, a couple of things I just didn't sit right with me. And I understand. But still, some of that. So, I didn't like the fact that Janet was just omitted. And I know Janet Jackson said she didn't want any part of it. She didn't want any part of it. I get it. And I respect it, Janet. But it just don't hit the same. We talking about Michael Jackson. And we don't mention Janet Jackson. Like I said, growing up, Michael Jackson, as a little kid, being born in 1989 and then growing up in 1990s, it's certain things I recognize straight up. I recognize Michael Jordan. I recognize Steve Urkel. I recognize the Dallas Cowboys. I recognize, Bugs Bunny. I recognize DuckTales. I recognize Michael Jackson, and I recognize Janet Jackson. Because for the longest time, I was confused. I'm like, is that his wife or his sister? And then I had to be like, damn, if that's his wife, he trained his wife well. Then I looked, I said, no, they look alike. Oh, that's his sister. I said, damn, that explains why she's so talented. Look at her brother. You can't think of Michael Jackson without thinking of Janet Jackson. Like anybody to know, remember when remember when the Scream video came out in 1995? Remember how big of a deal that was to us? Because like, oh shit, we got Michael and Janet together. Oh, this finna be a movie, pun intended, because y'all know Michael Jackson does movies. But not to see her just didn't sit right. And on top of that, I'm going to tell you why it didn't sit right. Because the movie starts in 1966. Janet Jackson is born May of 1966. And it looks like it's clearly wintertime. We don't see Catherine with a baby bump or anything. Like, I don't think Janet could have been like, you can't have my mama being pregnant. Like, okay, now you can't do all that. But Catherine have a baby bump or nothing. And another Jackson that was omitted from there, and let me scratch my head, they don't mention Randy at all. The Victory Tour had all 6 brothers. Randy wasn't nowhere to be found. They had the 5 boys and LaToya. And I know y'all said, what about Reby? I understand why Reby wasn't there. Reby was already grown to a majority and got the hell on. Reby like, I don't got time for this shit. But there were just 5 boys and LaToya. And I'm going to keep it honest with y'all. Nothing against the young lady who played LaToya, because she was fine as hell. Sitting there looking like butter, hot and yellow. But for real, LaToya was an NPC. She was an NPC. And they really treated her like that. I'm going to tell you what they did on there that solidified her being an NPC. When the scene after Michael fired Joe via fax, and he goes in there to talk to Catherine, LaToya is sitting there accessorizing Catherine with her clothes. He just coming there, LaToya, get the hell on. And she just walk on out. And it's just like, she was an NPC. We didn't need LaToya either. As quiet as it kept, we didn't need LaToya. Certain things, it just didn't sit right with me. Now, we're going to talk about some things. Like, a lot of people was judging this based on Jackson's American Dream. First of all, Jackson's American Dream wasn't about Michael Jackson. Y'all got to stop confusing the fact that Michael is the most popular of the Jacksons with the fact that every time they talk about the Jacksons, that it's just Michael Jackson. That was about these are apples and oranges. Because everybody's talking about I don't think Coleman Mingo did a good job compared to Lawrence Hilton Jacobs. That's the guy who played Joe Jackson in Jackson's American Dream. First of all, they apples and oranges. Lawrence Hilton Jacobs bodied Joseph Jackson. He showed his more domineering side. Coleman Domingo showed Jackson as how manipulative he can be. Because he was manipulating the shit out of Michael all throughout that movie. And I'm going to say this. A lot of y'all people are saying that they made Coleman Domingo look crazy as Joe Jackson. I don't know what the hell y'all talking. He was spot on. Go back and look at pictures of Joe Jackson. Because they was like, yeah, damn, Coleman Domingo had his mouth open the whole movie. Go look at pictures of Joe Jackson. That motherfucker stayed with his mouth open. I don't know how Joe Jackson didn't suffer from cotton mouth. I know Coleman Domingo had a severe case of cotton mouth after this damn movie. Especially if you always see Coleman Domingo or anything else. Because Coleman Domingo, I'll be having his mouth closed. He have his lips perched like he just drank picture of like he just drank a cup full of red Kool-Aid where they just poured half the bag of sugar into the pitcher. Y'all know the look I'm talking about with Coleman Domingo been having with his lips. So for him to go with his lips that tightly closed to his mouth just open 80 to 95% of the time, that's a testament to his acting skills. Now Nia Long, she looked just like Catherine. But baby, she wasn't touching Auntie Angela Bassett. And the way she acted her ass off as Catherine Jackson. And I'm going to tell you how we know Nia Long still a baddie. My mama watched the movie. And my mama said she didn't understand why they chose Nia Long to play Catherine Jackson. And so my mama looked it up and she had to realize, oh, that woman's 55. My mama said, I keep thinking she younger than that. And she said, damn, so that's about right. So, and as far as people doing accurate portrayals of people, whoever they got that woman was to play Gladys Knight, that young lady, spot on for Gladys Knight. She was spot on for Gladys Knight. And Mike Myers was spot on for Walter Yetnikoff. And I didn't even know that was Mike Myers until I looked it up a couple of days ago, days after that. Now, Mike Myers, I'm going to tell y'all how he bodied that because I went back and was watching a retrospective on the 25th anniversary of Bad that was made in 2012, they interviewed Walter Yetnikoff. It was a dead ringer for how Mike Myers looked and sounded as Walter Yetnikoff. So they definitely did their research. Hey, Lorenz Tate did his thing as Berry Gordy. Looked just like Berry Gordy. The one person who kind of didn't look like who she looked, but she got close enough, was Susan DePass, played by Laura Harrier. And hey, did anybody peep this? When Susan DePass first, quote unquote, discovered the Jackson 5 on stage at the Regal Theater in Chicago, did anybody peep how Joe was looking at her up and down? Because at first I'm thinking, did Joe want to get him a sample of her? Because, hey, if y'all seen the pictures been circulating, that outside baby that Joe got, the baby mama was high yellow. And she kind of fit Susan DePass's profile. Now, it's something that a lot of people been saying about this movie that kind of bothered me. A lot of people was mad because they didn't get into allegations and all that. They ain't touch the allegation, they ain't do that. And then I've heard a lot of people say they whitewashed this movie. How in the hell, what are y'all talking about whitewashed? I want to know how y'all got whitewashed, because it pretty much touched on the fact the man was black. In the beginning, when Joe had straight up said, y'all poor black kids from Gary, Indiana, ain't nothing gonna be handed to y'all. Then, later on, when Michael was writing Thriller, and he looked up from his studio, TV in the studio, he looked up from the soundboard and saw a news reports of Bloods and Crips killing each other. And he just looked just heartbroken and laid in the bed like, what can I do to stop this? And then he had all them Bloods and Crips meet up, and he was telling we can change the world with music, and I really believe that, and I know this wasn't easy for y'all to do. And then when he told Walter Yetnikoff, when he told him he wanted to get his music videos on MTV, he's like, I'm a proud black artist, and I'm not going to the back of the bus for MTV or anyone. So the man showed he was black. What the hell are y'all talking about? It was whitewashed. Why? Because it didn't involve no drugs, it involved no gangs killing each other, involved somebody trying to bring them together. It involved no baby mamas, no ignorant shit, no twerking, no stealing, no backstabbing, no cheating. It was whitewashed. That speaks, y'all like trauma. Y'all love trauma. This was a feel-good movie. This movie showed this man empathy throughout the whole movie. I'm going to tell you one scene I love the most, and I almost teared up, and I ain't ashamed, is when Michael was a little boy. They're at the fair, and they're singing, I'll Be There. It's a little girl, special needs. She's in a wheelchair, and she's looking at Michael just starry-eyed. Michael gets off the stage, goes up to the barrier, looks right in her face and starts singing, I'll Be There. Her heart just melted. She just started just clapping. I was almost, since I said, man, that was a hell of a dude to do that. They showed him donating every cent he got from the Pepsi commercial, which was a 7-figure settlement to help the burn center where he was being hospitalized at. Oh, and speaking of the Pepsi thing, I found this out. I did not know Don King played a role in the Jacksons getting Pepsi, as well as putting together the Victory Tour. I never knew that. I'm not saying that's new revelation. Some of y'all may know it. I didn't know that till I watched the movie. Shout out to Deon Cole and his acting skill, but I'm going to say this, though. Deon Cole can definitely play a menacing, like, criminal. Somebody who menacing. He showed us that in The Harder They Fall. He definitely got acting chops. But that ain't how Don King talk. Don King talk like a crime boss in there when he was talking to Joe. Don King ain't low and menacing like that. He high-pitched and slick. Great acting job, just the way they had Deion Cole portray him now. But Deion Cole did act his ass off. Because I ain't gonna lie, I feared for Joe Jackson. Especially when Deion said, "Now, if you can't deliver Michael." I was like, oh shit, I'm like, he gonna kill his ass. But yeah, so I could be here for a long time about that. I just promised myself I'd keep it short. Now I'm gonna go on to trivia about the movie. Trivia about the movie is, so they showed Michael Jackson going to get his nose done because he just felt inadequate and was self-conscious. That's not why Michael Jackson got his first nose job. He got his first nose job because he failed during rehearsal and busted. And it ended up not setting right, so he had to get another rhinoplasty. So that wasn't accurate in what he said in the movie. Another one. He did not get bubbles between Off the Wall and Thriller. He got bubbles around about 1985 after Thriller was complete. Because he went through like a kind of recluse stage after Thriller. And then reemerged right as the Bad era came around. Because he was kind of brown skinned. And then when the Bad era came, now he was light skinned. Even though I love that scene that they had where Walter Yetnikoff told MTV if they didn't run Billie Jean, he was going to take Bruce Springsteen, Cheap Trick, Cyndi Lauper, Bob Dylan, and somebody else he said I can't think of right now off. He was taking them and pulling them, and CBS completely out of business. That's not how that happened. First of all, Rick James, like earlier, raised hell like, why y'all not putting us on them? And Prince was already on there, reported like his 1989 Little Red Corvette. Now, Michael Jackson's Billie Jean and Thriller broke the door down where they couldn't deny black people no more. But it wasn't he was the first black person on there. Still love the scene. And I still love what Michael said in the scene. With love, Walter, please try harder. I love it, but it never happened. Now this is just me being a stickler. So don't nobody get mad at me. That whole thing where they showed Michael looking at the Bloods and Crip New report of them killing each other. A couple of them clips wouldn't have happened by that time. So they got one clip on there where they showing the Blood. He got a white Chicago White Sox hat with a red brim and socks and OD white on it. Red OE on it. First of all, 1982, the White Sox not only, they didn't have the black and white and silver or gray, however you think, color scheme. They didn't have that logo either. They were navy blue, white, and red. So that wasn't factual. And another one is the clip they show where, and I've seen this clip before in a documentary. It was a clip where a young dude, he was like, "They're my homeboy, he'll die for me, I'll die for him." And they cut it right before he said one of the most infamous things. And you know the clip I'm talking about. You probably said, "I'm a Crip. If I get a job, I'm a Crip at work." And they showed young Buck looking into the screen. Well, shout out to, I believe it was Warren Calley on YouTube. It's a guy who does like gang profiles on California gangs, mainly LA. He do a lot, and he did, and he was right on time by doing it because he knew he was gonna do numbers following the Michael Jackson movie. But I immediately recognized. I said, man, I seen this clip, and they showed the young buck looking, and that's Tiny Bo from what it was, Linwood. I forgot what it said, but he's from Linwood, California. And actually ended up getting killed shortly after that clip was taken. That clip was from 1987, 88. So that never would have happened. I mean, there's no way Michael could have saw that at the time, and he's recording Thriller in 1982. And there's a couple more of them clips I'm pretty sure that's 87, 88, or even 90. Because like I said, that clip with the dude who was a blood with the white socks hat on, with the red socks on it, that's got to be like 92, 93. And the last one I'm going to cover, because like I said, it's a bunch of them in there. But this one, this is just me being a stickler as a fan. So when Michael meets up with the Bloods and the Crips, he has on his, his iconic Beat It outfit, the red jacket, the black tight jeans, the white socks, and the loafers. And he has a white t-shirt on that's got the piano thing on it. So that's not what Michael wore with that. While Michael did wear that t-shirt in the Thriller, Beat It video, he had it in the beginning when he was laying in the bed before he had to get up and go meet the rival gangs while he was wearing some red sweatpants laying in the bed. He had like a blue and pink shirt on, and he had like a little belt on too. So yeah, that was that dude, and I was in the theater. I'm like, that's not they mixing it. I get it though. I get it. That's like I said, that's just me being a stickler. And also this what that dude did, that was not a Crip walk. I don't know what the hell that was he did, but that wasn't a Crip walk. I even screamed that out in the theater when that dude said, this is the sea walk, cuz. First of all, when nobody calling it the sea walk then, and then we called that until Bow Wow B2K was doing that shit and people was shorting it because they didn't want people to get killed. That was Crip walk. And two, that wasn't a Crip walk. That ain't really one of my trips. I just threw that in because, yeah, that bothered the shit out of me. Yeah, that's the trivia I got, like I said, because I'll be here for a long time. That's why I said this review, I had to, limit myself because I knew I'd be going on and on. Now, my favorite quote of the movie. I'm going to tell y'all what my favorite quote is. And we can get mad at Joe Jackson all we want. And I'm going to say this too. Y'all was talking about Joe was beating him. Let's go back and look at both of them movies. They didn't show Joe beating them kids that much. They had two whoopings in the first one. One of them we only heard, we didn't see. And even Tito was being over dramatic with that. Joe hit him one time and this motherfucker had lost his mind. And them pops was coming slow as hell. And then when they showed him whooping Marlon with that switch. And this one, all they had was one whooping in the beginning when Michael was like, they don't want to rehearse, they tired. And Joe beat him for speaking out of turn. First of all, let me say this. Joe was wrong for whooping Michael. But that is not a beating. That's a standard whooping. I got whoopings worse than that. That was a standard ass whooping. Still was wrong. Joe was wrong for whooping the boy. But that's a standard ass whooping. But like I say about Joe, when he came to Michael and he told Michael he wanted to do the victory tour, And Michael was like, I'm a grown man. You can't make me do that. Now, at first, I thought Joe was going, because, Michael had all them toys and stuff in the room. I thought Joe was going to look around the room and say, you a grown man. Boy, do you see this damn room? But Joe said, you want to be a grown man. You want to go out there. He said, you want to lead this family. He said, you want to go, he said, you want to lead, we the only people that understand you. You want to go out there into the world. You don't have all that money. You're going to be surrounded by people that's going to say yes to anything. Is that what you want? And as fucked up as Joe was for trying to manipulate Michael, the sad fact was it was truth to that. Because that's what ended up happening to him. That's why I loved that quote in the movie. Because I'm like, Joe called it. Joe was hell, but Joe wasn't stupid. Now, my absolute favorite part of this movie is, like I said earlier, was at the end. Now, I said the human nature scene, that was my favorite musical performance, but my favorite part was at the end when Michael is walking up in Wembley Arena in London, England, and we had a fan screaming Michael, and they queuing up bad. That had the hair on the back of my neck standing up, and when I said I was smiling from ear to ear, I said, and we had my favorite era of Mike. Let's go. Like when he looked back at Bill Bray, and Bill Bray smiled at him, and then Mike turned, he ran out. I was like, go get him, Mike. Cause I could just feel how he's like, I've done it. I'm the man. And I felt like a proud parent. And also this, shout out to the actor that played Bill Bray. I don't know how to pronounce the dude's name, so I ain't gonna even try to butcher it. But whoever picked him, like I said before, and I'm gonna keep on saying it, the casting director, the actors, and the makeup department, they all did their thing. Jafar Jackson, I don't know if you're going to get one for this. And Coleman Domingo as well. But especially Jafar Jackson. Young brother, you definitely deserve an Academy Award nomination for bringing your uncle back to it. Because you didn't portray your uncle. You didn't act as your uncle. You brought your uncle back to life for 2 hours. And on behalf of every Michael Jackson fan out there, we thank you so much. That's been my review of the movie Michael. Next movie I will be reviewing. This is an independent blaxploitation film that I found like in 2008, 2009. It's known as two names. One name is MMA and one name is Black Sister Revenge. I found it a Black Sister Revenge. It was made in 1976. I'm going to do that because that's a movie that, for the culture, a lot of us should see that one. Other than talking about Superfly, the Mac, and the god-awful Dolomite. Hopefully some of y'all have seen it. And for those y'all ain't seen, I'm going to put you on game about it. Y'all know y'all can follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram, PeteMac10. That's PeteYMac10. Or y'all can follow me on TikTok, PeteMac89. Same as Instagram, just drop the 1 and the 0, put an 8 and 9 in this place. Until the next time we go to the movies, y'all. Be cool, stay calm, get paid. Peace.